Why would someone devoted to the Dagda not see the god Lugh so favorably? Well, Dagda Íbhagus Fáilte. Hi, hello, and welcome. Jon O'Sullivan from the Irish Pagan School. And this is a cast or question from Kira, who shot me in an email to follow up on it. Kira's been following along for a while and has noted in some of my other emails and in some of my videos here in YouTube that when I talk about Lugh, I tend to I tend to steer away from my personally, and I have commented a number of times that like, he's not for me, he's not my cup of tea. Um, and so Kira like asked a question like why that might be. So Gurv Maga for the question, Kira. I really appreciate it. I'm always a big fan of questions because it allows us to explore our understanding of things from another person's perspective. So thanks a lot for the question. The To kind of just give it a bit of structure first, I suppose, I do got to get into the mythology and the lore, and I'll try and be as succinct as I can because I don't think I have time to tell you all the pre-scales, the rave scale to the Second Battle of Moytura. But in brief, Lugh sits as this singular person of prophecy in the ancient Irish stories of Leabhar Gabála Érenn, the Book of Taking of Ireland. So essentially, after Nuada was wounded during the First Battle of Moytura, a king called Bress takes the throne. Bress is part Fomorian, part Tuatha Danann. Puts his Tuatha Danann people under oppression and favors his Fomorian ancestry. And this leads to imbalance, leads to poor judgment, leads to lack of kingly judgment and a lack of kingly hospitality. And that is what deposes Bress eventually. And this really sets up the setting for the Second Battle of Moytura because Brest goes to the Fomorians to arrange an invasion force. Now, in a pre-story to that, there is a Fomorian warlord, chieftain, and king by the name of Balor, and Balor had a prophecy against him that his grandchildren, he will be slain by his grandchildren. So, in typical fashion of people trying to deny prophecy, he locks his daughter up in a tower, tries to keep her away from everybody. But the Tuatha Danann hero by the name of Cian does manage to make it in. Him and the daughter of Balor, Ethna. I'm gonna have to double check my name on that one. But him and the daughter of Balor kind of have a relationship. She bears children. Balor finds the children, throws them into the sea, thinking to drown them, and therefore subvert prophecy. One of the children survives, is taken, saved from the sea by Manannán mac Lir, and raised with Tailtiu in one version of the story, or Gwivnu in another version of the story. And that child grows up to be the Eel Donach, he of the many interlinked talents, or Lugh. And so Lugh is this person of prophecy. It's his role in all of the saga to bring balance to the imbalance that was Bress. So both Bress and Lugh are, people of okay. So Bress's father was Fomorian, his mother was Tuatha Danann, and much like a lot of narrative stories about balance, Lugh's mother was Fomorian and Lugh's father was Tuatha Danann. So it's this inverse of mirroring that we see in a lot of narrative stories to help undo or to correct when things go wrong. And so Lugh is this central individual around which all of this prophecy is set, and he is core to the survival of the Tuatha Danann when it comes to the Second Battle of Moytura and the invasion. So Lugh goes to the seat of the king. Nuada abdicates. Lugh takes the seat of the king. He's king of the Tuatha Danann. He rules as king of the Tuatha Danann for 40 years, and he oversees the successful Second Battle of Moytura against the Fomorian invasion. He does slay his grandfather Balor, um, and yeah, it's that combination, it's that undoing of the imbalance from before from Bress. But where is the Dagda in this? Well, when Lugh comes to Tara, he finds a seat of the sage and it's empty. He then moves, because of his many skills, he's able to take the seat of the sage. And then Nuada, who was king at the time, is like, well, maybe this guy should be king. But there's no mention of Dagda in that story. Nuada leaves and goes to a meeting of the Men of the Goddess, and this is where the Dagda does come into it. And it's what are you going to bring? How are we going to deal with this forthcoming invasion from the Fomorians? Um, And then later on, when Lugh has his own war gathering and asks, like, what are his people going to bring to the war effort? All of these promises are made. And in many cases, the Dagda says, listen, all of you promised, I'll take it on and make sure it's done myself. From hiding the rivers and lakes of Ireland so that the Fomorians will find no water, to calling the names of the mountains of Ireland so they will throw the rocks down upon the Fomorians, to literally raining fire from the sky. Dagda says he's going to do it. It is done. And so when the Second Battle of Moytura is in full swing, we don't have the Dagda in the narrative, much like we did have him in the first Battle of Moytura, probably because he's busy AF running around making sure everything happens the way it's supposed to happen and everything that was promised comes to fruition. Now, where is the problem? I haven't said anything about a problem, and the problem comes after this point. So Lugh is king in Ireland for 40 years. Whilst he is king in Ireland, he has many relationships, many wives, and one of his wives, by the name of Buch, has a tryst or a relationship with a guy called Kermit. And they're into each other. So they have a bit of time together. Lugh hears about this, and Lugh in anger and rage slays Kermit. Straight up just kills him. Kermit is Kermit, son of the Dagda. So this is the first kind of step in why there might be difficulty or why there might be challenge between the Dagda and Lugh, because Lugh kills the Dagda's son. Now, interestingly, the story that this comes from is a story about how Dagda took up the magic club, and which is one of the tools associated with the Dagda, and it is the power over life and death. So it was said that this club would have a rough end that would take life, and a gentle or smooth end that would return or restore life. Um, in the story, it starts with Lugh slaying Kermit, but the Dagda doesn't come after Lugh. He comes for his child. He comes for Kermit. And it says like he weeps and grieves so much that he actually weeps blood, and he can't accept the loss of his child. So he stops the corruption of the body, l- binds his adult son up, puts him up on his shoulders, and leaves Ireland to try and find some way to bring his child back to life. And that is the story that we follow then, with the Dagda going off into the east of the world, and where eventually he does come upon the power to restore his child back to life. Now, in the interim, while this is happening, or while this is happening, it's now actually made clear if this is what happens during that time frame or if it happens after the fact. But Kermit also has children, and three sons of Kermit who go by the names of McCool, McKecht, and McGren hear of their father being slain by Lugh, and they're like, we need to take revenge for this. So these are the grandchildren of the Dagda, the sons of Kermit. And they know Lugh is very dangerous. They know Lugh is one of the most dangerous warriors in all of Ireland. And so they arrange to have a meeting with him, and they're like, listen, let's talk this out. Lugh is like, yeah, fair enough. I'm kind of done with all this anyway. And when he turns up to the meeting, the three brothers ambush him and attack him. Now they drive a spear through Lugh's foot to try and pin him to the ground, because Lugh has many warrior feats on him and they don't want him moving around too much. But Lugh does manage to escape, and he makes his way into a nearby lake. But he is pursued by the three sons of Kermit, where they manage to slay him and drown him in the lake. And that lake then becomes known as Loch Lugh, and it is still in County Westmeath and still known by that name. It is right beside the seat of power, Ushnock, which I still have to go visit. So, um, essentially, that's the core interactions and difficulties that we have directly. It is like a familial bloodline revenge narrative between the bloodline of the Dagda and Lugh. What follows, and what I find very curious, is the person who succeeds Lugh as king in Ireland is the Dagda. And the Dagda doesn't rule from Tara, where all other kings had ruled. He rules from Ushnock, a place that is right beside the lake where Lugh had been drowned by his grandchildren. It's a very, again, as I said, I love asking questions. I love exploring things with the why. Why would Dagda choose an entirely different place to rule from? Why would Dagda choose a place that when he walked outside his door, he would see the lake where Lugh was drowned by his grandkids, if not to make sure he was being aware of that and reminding himself about how to rule justly and honorably. And it says that the time that Dagda rules, those 80 years, are amongst the most abundant and most fantastic of the state of Ireland, because he rules as a just and rightful king in proper sovereignty and proper relationship with the other world. Um, so how does all of this mythology relate to me? And this kind of does go back to the question of why would someone devoted to the Dagda have or look unfavorably on Lugh? I don't look unfavorably on Lugh. I respect Lugh immensely. And I'm grateful for the knowledge that is Lugh and the experiences of getting to know Lugh in my own way and in my own spiritual practice as an Irish pagan. Lugh is an absolutely fantastic deity, and and okay, this is a personal gnosis, a personal kind of opinion for me. I find Lugh to be such capable of such hyper focus, but also so many distracted, varying skills. It shows that, he has a very interesting mind. If someone were to, equate that to nowadays, they might refer to a person who goes through stages of hyper focus, hyper learning, knows a whole broad range of skills, knows a whole broad range of topics that they can just bring up and start talking about, as someone who has ADHD or someone who has a flavor of neurodivergence, should we say. And so for someone who is experiencing that in their life, I think Lugh is a great deity to talk to, because he gets it. He gets what it is to have multiple different skills going on, multiple different kind of thoughts and tracks, and but still the need to master this one particular thing because he is Eel Donach, he of the many interlinked talents. Now, when it comes to my personal experiences with Lugh, I don't vibe personally with Lugh because eh, there's a certain level of hubris to my mind. And this is something I've mentioned myself, and I've been cautious mentioning to Lugh people and people who do work with Lugh, but I get nods. I get the yeah, no, he just goes at it. Like whatever it is, he'll just throw himself at it. Sometimes without considering, sometimes without broadening the why about things, he'd just go at it. Also there's a temper to Lugh. There's there's a lack of patience, and it goes with that striking, that go forward, and it's his nature. It is his nature. I'm not saying he's a bad person because of any of this. It is just his nature. That's why he has the spear that comes from either Gorius or Findius. There's different translations on that, but it's one of the four treasures of the Tuatha De Danann, and it says that no battle can be won against it. Like he is a very, very dangerous, very deadly warrior. He knows how to use his body and all of his skills in those ways. And I sometimes like, he's a bit much. Like, not in the like he's too much or like I'm not okay, I'm rambling around myself because I don't want to cause offense here. I like Lugh. I have a lot of respect for Lugh. And there are a lot of things that anyone can learn from working with the Irish god Lugh. Me personally, he's not the deity for me. I am a bit more slow and steady, methodical, a bit more patient, and that's why him and I don't gel very well. His exuberance and his hubris kind of just grate on me, and that's why I personally don't vibe or work with Lugh. Now, that doesn't mean all Dagda people would be against Lugh, or if you're a Dagda person, you can't be a Lugh person. That's not what I'm saying here at all. A person following their own spiritual path should feel free to explore, to approach multiple deities, to engage in it, because polytheism is one of the core tenets of paganism. And so it's healthy, it's natural. And so read the story, get into the lore, understand who Lugh is as a deity. And, if you are feeling an interest, a connection, do make offerings, see how that goes. Follow Laura O'Brien's journey and guided journeying method to introduce yourself to him and then see where it is. Um, so I'm not saying that there's beef between Dagda people and Lugh people. And even if there is ancient, old, hard feelings between deities that shouldn't influence us, that's their stuff to deal with and not ours. But in my personal opinion, knowing the Dagda the way I do, knowing his stories and following on with it, I do go back to that question. Why would he choose Ushnock? Why would he stay near where Lugh died? If not to include that process in his own kingship, if not to remind himself, if not to be aware of the problems and the harm and the hurt that comes when vengeance is prioritized as opposed to justice. Um, there is another story that pops right to mind. There's a story of another son of the Dagda, a guy called Aed, who was also slain whilst Dagda is king, and everyone is expecting a certain level of eye from an eye, eye for an eye, like, oh, this person killed your son, so you should kill them. And the dad is like, that's not justice. That's vengeance. And instead, he sets the task on the person who slayed his son to carry Aid's body around Ireland until he finds a suitable stone under which Aid could be buried, and then to bring the body and the stone back. And the guy called Corgrand does actually fulfill that feat. He fulfills his punishment. He takes on board the challenge and he does it and he succeeds at it. It does cost him his life at the end of it, but it's not punitive in that it's eye for an eye. It's justice as opposed to vengeance. And that's for me a way of looking at the kingly judgment that is provided by the Dagda. He doesn't prioritize his own emotions. He doesn't prioritize his own, this is my family and my bloodline. He's like, okay, well, there's two sides to this story here, but a life was taken. So how do we restore or how do we make right for that? Um, so yeah, hopefully this answers that question. Like, why a Dagda devotee might look less than favorably on Lugh. There's ancestral stories of difficulty. There's bloodline rivalries between them, yes. But personally, I don't vibe with Lugh, but that doesn't mean someone can't or approach the broader pantheon. Like I've got a lot of time, a lot of love, a lot of respect for Lugh. I just don't vibe with him, and I think that's the only way I can really explain it. He's not the deity for me to work with personally in my own spiritual practice. So, thank you very much for the cash. I really appreciate it. If you are looking for more, do go to irishpagan.school/free. We've got a whole lot of free resources available there, something you can pick up and do. There's a whole lot more videos here available on YouTube, podcast, everywhere else around. And yeah, until next time, look after yourself. Take care. Agus Slán. Goodbye.